Okay, welcome to another tutorial. Today we are going to learn about Adobe Illustrator and specifically using the pen tool to trace logos or really to trace anything that you would want to do. So if you haven't already done so, open up Adobe Illustrator. It is the AI logo and it will be located in your start menu here. You can go to Adobe Illustrator, select this one, and away we go here. So we're going to open up a brand new document. So we're just going to go to the top here and go File. And we want to select New. I have way too many things open clearly because my computer is like hesitating and stuff. But regardless, we'll get through it. So if you haven't done any recent documents before, you won't have anything that starts here. So you want to go to the Print tab. So select Print. And in our case for today, we just want regular letterhead paper. So if you select this Start a New Letter document, that will give you the specifications for a letterhead piece of paper. Now, if you want to change some stuff, so if I wanted to switch this to inches, I'd be able to double check that the size is correct. So it's 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. And we are going to change the name of this to be the Twitter Trace, and then just dash, and then put your last name. So in my case, it's Wright, but all of you guys are going to have your own last names that you use for the video. Once you have changed the name and you make sure that the document is an 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall, then we are ready to get started. And you can simply select the Create button here, and it will open up your blank document. Okay, so with this blank document, we're going to do a few different things. Specifically, though, we need an image to trace. So we need to first go to our internet. So I'd like you to open up your Google Chrome or Explorer, whichever you choose to open up. And you need to search for, we'll call it Twitter bird logo. And that should give you lots of images when you click on the Images tab. You should have tons of different images to pick from to get started. Okay, now a lot of these are from different websites and from different places. And most recently, Google changed it so you can't just save these as is. But what you can do is you can right-click on these images. You can select them. You can either visit the site that the logo is on. So in this case, it's a logo site that has a whole bunch of different Twitter logos. And then you pick the one you want and you right-click on it. So simply right-click and say Save Image As, and then it's going to save it as a ping for you or whatever format the logo is in, and you can save that document to your computer. Okay? By doing that, now we're able to put that into Adobe Illustrator and trace that logo, and in the meantime learn how to use the pen tool. So you can minimize this for now, and you can go back to your Adobe Illustrator. Now there's a couple different ways that you could do this. You could obviously just open the file, but we don't really want to open the original file. We want to put that original into this new document that we've created. So we want to go File, Place at the top here. So go to File and then select Place. And then similar to what we did with Photoshop, you're going to just select the image that you want to place into the document. And when you select Place, it will now give you this placement gun or placement cursor or whatever you want to call it. If I clicked one single click, it would go in as big as it possibly can go. If I do a File, Place, and I click and drag, it will stay proportionately. It will let me put it in at any size that I want. that is proportionate to the original, and it won't mess it up on me. Okay? It's taking a bit of a second here. So now I can move this image around the page, and I can put it kind of closer to the bottom here so that I know where that original image is. Okay? Now, as we're learning, because this is right now, this is considered a bitmap image. So this is not a vector image that we've placed into Illustrator. If we took the zoom tool and we zoom way in on this image, you can see how it begins to distort and you get these pixels showing up, and it's not a nice smooth line. So what we're going to try to do today is we're going to trace this bird as best as we can and create a nice smooth path all the way around the bird. Okay? To do that, we're going to use exclusively the pen tool. Now, the pen tool is kind of fun. It can be used in multiple different ways, but you have to kind of do things in the right order or it's going to get confusing. Okay? If you just watch along with me here, the pen tool is pretty impressive. I can select the color I want. So if I want the fill color to be this pink color, if I want the stroke to stay black, I can leave it like that. I can make the thickness of the line thicker. And so now by default, whenever I click with my mouse, it will make a new anchor point. And I can just simply click all over the place and it will create this shape or path, and it will fill it in with that pink color. But as you notice, it's not very convenient to trace something when there's a fill already going on. So you need to make sure that your pen settings are set to what you want in order to trace. So in this case, I'm going to turn the background color off. So we want to go into this drop down and we want to select none. So it's the one with the square line through it. The square box with the red line through it is the none. So that means there's no fill. So now when I create my shape, or my path I should say, I'm ending up with no fill. So it's translucent in the inside here, right? There's no color on the inside. It's just an outline. Now, that works great if we want some sort of weird upside down jellyfish looking thing, but not very practical for us trying to trace the Twitter bird. So we need to make sure that our pen tool, I'm going to make mine a little thinner, go down to just 2 pixels or 2 points, so that now when I create my lines, they're nice and thin and I can just outline things nice and accurately. Okay? Now by default, the pen tool goes in straight lines. So if I just simply clicked around, I would get all straight lines. Now obviously if I make enough small straight lines, you end up with something that looks like a curve, but really is not a curve. Okay, if I zoom in on this, you can see that it is definitely not a curve. It is just a whole bunch of straight line segments that sort of resemble a curve. Now what we want to do though is actually create curves. Now the pen tool can do it one of 2 ways. You can simply click the first time to create an anchor point, and now if I click and hold, so I'm left clicking and I'm holding my mouse down and I'm sliding it, I start to pull out this handle and I can create these curves in my path. And then the next one is going to be automatically starting to curve, or I can hold the Alt key on the keyboard and I can shrink down this handle to make sure that this is back to 0, and now I can go in a straight line again, and then I could click and hold and make another curve. So this does work for tracing our Twitter bird, but it can become a little bit confusing. So the method that I like to use the best is to add the curves in after. So if I just created a simple box for now, if you notice, when I hover my mouse, my cursor over top of the line, I could do things like add another point. I can mess around with it. But if I hold the Alt key on my keyboard with my other hand, it changes my graphic here from a little plus sign to now a curve. And when I click and drag, I can now create curves with all these lines that I created. I can bend them. And I can also go in here, still holding the Alt key, and I can click on these handles and I can maneuver them all independent of each other as I'm going along. Okay, so there's lots of different functionality now with regards to the pen tool. So I'm just going to delete this one and we'll start fresh now. And we are going to trace our Twitter bird here. Now I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so that the bird fills the screen here. And then I'm going to take my pen tool, and now because I want to make my curves after, I'm going to simply just click on all the different intersecting points. So I'm going to select here, then I'm going to go here. Now I know that if we jump all the way to this other side, it's really hard to make this curve. So I would advise you to do it in a couple steps. So maybe make one point here, another point across, and then a third one down by the bridge of his nose. And then you can keep going. So the tip here of the beak, inside of the mouth, tip of the beak, bottom side. Same with this big curve. You're going to want to do it at least in 2 steps. I think I can do it in 2 if I go there and then to here. Now to that little corner. And you click all your way around until you've completed that path. Now obviously it looks terrible and super weird, but we've created this path that we can now adjust each line segment to make the curve match the Twitter bird. So simply by, I still have the pen tool selected. All I need to do now is hover over the line I want to maneuver, hold the Alt key, and then click and drag till I get this line to match up with the original. If you're having trouble matching it up or seeing what's going on, you can actually zoom in. So click on the magnifying glass, zoom in on the bird here, go back to your pen tool, and you can keep making adjustments to those paths to make sure that everything works. Now, if you happen to make a mistake with one of your points, you can use the direct selection tool. So it's the white arrow in your tool panel, and you can select the different points. Now, if you do it too quickly, you'll end up selecting the whole path, and you'll end up just moving, you'll end up moving the entire path at the same time, which is not really what you want to do. You don't want to move the whole entire picture. You just want to move the individual pieces or the individual points here. I can now move this in. I can move it wherever I want. And the nice thing about a vector, I can also move these handles just to tweak it more. The nice thing about a vector is I could come back weeks from now, and because it's a vector, I can tweak all these little points and get them to match better to my design. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I found out a better way to do it. Whatever it is, it's totally editable, and you can make all kinds of changes down the road. Okay, so you're just going to keep going, work your way around the bird here. The shortcut for the pen tool is just P on the keyboard. And then you hold Alt again. And now I can drag this out, line it up, drag this one out, line it up, and I just keep working my way around the bird to make all these different little curves line up. Now, once you've gotten all the way around to the beginning again, and you're thinking that you like the way this looks, you're happy with the trace that you've made, the couple things you're going to do with this is, for one, you're going to take the original picture that should be underneath, and you're going to move it to the top corner here, and you're just going to shrink it down. Now make sure you hold the Shift key when you scale this, or else it's going to distort your picture. We don't want to squish it like this. We just want to make it smaller. So hold the Shift key while you click and transform it down. So now you get a small version, and then you get the finished traced version at the bottom here. Now your finished version, I'm going to give mine a color. So I'm going to pick green, have it be in the inside, and then I'm going to do a slightly thicker stroke around the outside. So there's my traced version, and this is my original. So the last step is to now label your project. So we're going to take the text tool, and we are going to call this just the Twitter trace assignment. And that can go all the way across the top. And then I'm going to make this one be my original. Same deal, I take the move tool, I can adjust these handles, I can scale it. Now a little trick, if you want to use the same font and the same size, is to actually duplicate that piece of text to a new location. And it's a really cool little trick. If you want to make a copy of something in Illustrator, all you have to do is hold the Alt key. You can click and drag whatever that is that you want to make a copy of, and it will give you another version of that graphic. So if I click and I'm holding the Alt key down with my finger, and I get another version of it, and so this one is now going to be called the trace. Okay. And then finally, we want to use the same size font again, so I'm going to do my Alt and drag, and this is going to be, put your name on it. So in my case, it's Mr. Wright. In yours, it would be your full name. And then underneath of that, it'll be block 4. And then you can center it. You can do whatever you want to do. You can change the font. All the same stuff you can do with the various different design programs. Okay? So this is your first official assignment in the printing section. Under the printing tab here, you have assignment 1A, which is to do this Twitter logo trace. And then assignment 1B is you're going to do your own version of this. So you're going to pick a different logo and trace it. What I ask, though, is don't do something boring like the Apple logo or Nike. Those are way too easy, and they're not challenging enough for you. So do a nice logo that has a few different paths that you have to trace, and do your very best. And then you're going to set it up exactly the same way we did here with this one. So you'll have your original on the top and your traced version on the bottom. And please change the colors in some way. We don't want to break copyright. We want to make sure that we're doing stuff that's original, at least a little bit original. So as you trace it, make sure that you're changing the colors so that it is your own version of that logo and not just a direct copy of somebody else's work. Okay? When you're all finished this, you can do a file save as. You're going to save it both as an Illustrator document, so as an Adobe AI, and then you also want to save it as a PDF because we can't print from Illustrator directly with our system. So we need to go File, Save As, and save it as a PDF. And then you're going to trace that, or save that, excuse me, so that you can have it be ready to go. It'll come up with this same Adobe Save stuff that we've been dealing with the whole time. Just hit Save PDF. And then all you have to simply do is open up your Explorer and search for those documents on your F drive. So I saved it to my F drive here. I open up my Twitter trace assignment. And I am going to go File, Print. Make sure you print to the color printer, the Lab 152 color. And make sure that it's 8.5 by 11 page size. And then when you select print, it should print out to the printer and you can hand it into the hand-in box. Okay? Hopefully you learned something about the pen tool and about Illustrator, and we'll have more tutorials to come. Have a good time.